Welcome back to Hidden Power. This is a Pokemon podcast, and today we've got a lot to talk about. The Nintendo Switch 2 is out right now. It's on streets right now, and that means we've officially entered a new era of Pokemon games. If the Switch 2 lasts as many years as the Switch 1 did, we can expect to see over 2 Pokemon generations on this new console. What we're gonna do today is take a look at every single Pokemon game that we could be playing on the Switch 2. My name is DustyGogoat. Today I'm joined by TraderLumi.
Hello.
And SoulSilverArt.
What's up?
Today, the Switch 2 is out. The Switch 2 is out. This is a big deal. This is the start of a new era, a new console generation. What we're going to be looking at today, right? The Switch 2 system is going to be in our lives for at least 8 to maybe 10 years. And within there, we're going to have 2 entire Pokemon generations. What we want to figure out today is what those games are going to look like, how they're going to play. Let's start off, guys, with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet on Switch 2. The reason why we're starting off with this, I think this is really, I think there's almost a, I don't know, the thing that's looming for me is that Scarlet and Violet currently, I feel like, is set up to have a pretty bad legacy. There's a potential that Scarlet and Violet might be seen as a much better game than it currently is at the moment. I think a lot of people have been burned. So, I don't know, looking at these images,
yes,
this is the best case scenario of Scarlet and Violet on Switch 2, but I don't think we're getting any new content. I'll say that much. I don't think we're getting any new content on Switch 2, but I am excited to see how these games are going to play going forward.
Yeah, I think they've even, I want to say they've even confirmed we're not getting new content for Scarlet and Violet. And it kind of makes sense too, right? I don't think that this is as big as a lot of people are going to want it to be, because right now their focus is on Legends EA, and after that we're moving to a brand new generation where Scarlet and Violet will be a thing of the past anyways. So I don't think that they're wanting to put a ton of stock into this. I think this is mostly like a PR move to save face, because like you said, Dusty, these games don't have the greatest legacy to them right now, and I think they're wanting to correct that as best they can.
And again, we don't need to spend too much time on this. These games are already out. People can make their decisions as they're watching or listening to this podcast. But from what we can tell at the time of recording, the images that are shared of Scarlet and Violet on Switch 2, the images that were shared were 4K resolution. That it doesn't inherently change any of the art style or anything, but the image quality is a lot more clear. And there's also an increase. This is something that they're showing off in these promotional images, again, of Scarlet and Violet on Switch 2, that the spawn rates of Pokemon, which were lowered, have been drastically increased, which tells me that the games are going to perform a lot better. And again, you know, the games are not that pretty, but I think the worst offender is that the games do not play very smoothly, right? They're frustrating to play compared to other Pokemon games, compared to really any other game. So those are the things that I think are going to be, like, I don't think we'll be able to understand the impact of these things until we actually play Scarlet and Violet on the Switch 2. But, you know, I think this is something that is going to, you know, this is until Generation 10 in 2026, right? We're over a year away. This is still the mainline Pokemon game. So this is what people are going to be playing on their Switch 2. When people buy the Switch 2 for the first time, a lot of people are going to be picking up Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. So I'm excited to see, I'm excited to see for myself how well these play. I think a lot of us are going to be live streaming this content anyways on Switch 2, or at least I'm going to be on my channel.
If you get a Switch 2, man,
until
good luck.
Legends EA comes out.
Yeah, I'm getting one. All right,
you have a pre-order?
Let's move on to Pokemon Legends ZA. What are we thinking, guys? This game's coming out. We still actually don't know when it's coming out. We still don't know when it's coming out. I think the rumor right now is that Legends ZA is going to drop. We're rumored to drop between September and November of 2025.
That seems right.
We still only have so much information about Legends ZA, but
even less about the Switch 2 version too. And this is one that I think you could see potentially a decent amount of change. Like, I think you will see more change between Legends EA for the Switch 1 and Legends EA for the Switch 2 than you will see for Scarlet and Violet. Its differences.
Absolutely.
because they've announced like it's a Switch 2 edition, whereas Scarlet and Violet, they're not calling it a Switch 2 edition. They're calling it a patch for the Switch 2.
Yeah.
But this, they are saying a Switch 2 edition. And when you compare that to the other Switch 2 editions that we're hearing about, like there's one for Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom. They've announced one for the Metroid game that's coming out. There are not only just increased performance and visuals, but also there's actually like new features, and they're not like anything crazy. Like, it's not like, I'm not telling you, oh, the ZA Switch 2 edition is gonna have 100 more Pokemon in the game, including 20 new ones. No, but like,
I wish.
you're right. It might like have that would sell the Switch 2 right there. But no, it might would be like a thing like with Breath of the Wild. There's like a new like journal feature or something, and it's not much. Like, you can play Breath of the Wild without it, and you will more than survive. But and maybe that was Tears of the Kingdom, not Breath of the Wild. Not a big Zelda person,
right.
So I don't remember which one. But the fact that it is like an edition that you will purchase versus a free patch to just make it run better screams to me that you're gonna see a bigger difference.
I think these games already, they were getting a lot of, let's say, pressure from fans. There was a lot of people being vocal saying Legends ZA looked pretty bad, and I do think that the footage that we've seen on Switch 2 has shut some people up. I think it looks really good. It looks really good.
It's the people is me. I am people.
Sure, yeah. There's a lot of people online.
I felt that way. No, I felt that way. I was like, it doesn't look good. And then I saw the Switch 2 edition, and I was like, wow, this looks way better. So literally what you said.
Yeah. It looks a lot better.
But I don't know.
Again, another example of the Switch 2, like, making these past Pokemon games feel just like better experiences overall.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In fact, Dusty, if you want to, I just sent a DM to Hidden Power. And it is someone actually like screen grabbed the video of the game being played on the Switch 2, so you can kind of see the comparison.
Great.
But and you can see it's crisp looking. It's looking very smooth. It's not the usual thing we're used to seeing Pokemon look like. In terms of the movement.
I just kept watching this over and over. Because it's just, it feels good. But yeah, with what you were saying, Lumi, about the Switch 2 edition compared to the Scarlet and Violet like Switch 2 version, I feel like the only reason it's an edition is because they're just charging for it, and the Scarlet and Violet one is a free update. That's the only thing for me. I'm like,
but I feel like if you're putting a price tag on it, it's gotta, if nothing else, the difference has to be greater than it is with Scarlet and Violet. But I would not be floored if there is something a little bit more to this game if you play it on the Switch 2. Whether it's maybe like Legends Arceus had a bunch of side missions, maybe there is a side mission or two side missions that are only available on the Switch 2 edition of the game, and those happen to be the side missions that give you access to Hoopa and Volcanion.
Honestly, I can see that.
What if it's those rumored 5 other megas?
That's true. There's like some people have like said like there's like a difference between what megas, the amount of megas that'll appear in this game. And so, like, some people are saying there's 5 more than other people are saying. But surely that would be too large.
Yeah, that would be too much.
I
would pay for it. I would pay for it.
I would too.
Yeah, and I wonder if... Interesting. I just thought right now, something that they could do is that base... So, like, if you pay for the Switch 2 edition of Pokemon Legends ZA, maybe what you're actually paying for is a free, or maybe the cheaper, maybe a discounted DLC, 6 months later or something in 2026.
Oh, that could be fun. That could be fun.
Yeah. Or like if there is DLC for this game, but it's only available for the Switch 2 edition.
Ooh, that hurts though.
Like they've done things similar to that. A little bit different, but like an example would be there was the 3D, I think it was Super Mario 3D World. That was a Wii U game, and then they actually released that for the Switch later on, And when they did, they were like, this is Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury.
Yeah.
And so it had like this whole new like mini story. Like it wasn't like a brand new game, right? Like it wasn't that
It was
size,
a new
but
campaign.
it was like, yeah, it was probably about the size of like a small DLC, right?
Yeah.
Like not Isle of Armor and Crown Tundra, but maybe just Isle of Armor.
Yeah.
And it it's new levels. It's it's more to it. So that there is the chance that ZA, because I mean, don't you think it's also a little fishy that in this reveal of the Switch 2 edition of ZA, they also revealed, you see it at the end there of that video, they revealed other Switch 2 editions for other Switch games, but they gave like no info on this one. They were just kind of like, it's happening and it looks better.
Yeah, but
and
that
like,
might
they didn't.
That might be but just because there's nothing else that they're going to offer. I think it looks a lot better. I think it looks a lot nicer. I'll pay the premium. So
I would too. Yeah.
Obviously,
oh yeah, for sure. I'm gonna have a Switch 2, so I'm gonna play it on the Switch 2.
Yeah. So in 2026, until later in the year, well, no, let's. I guess I shouldn't jump ahead that far. It's only okay. The Switch 2 comes out. What is it? This June
5th.
June 5th, 2025. So for the rest of this year, players are going to be playing Scarlet and Violet. Later in the year, we'll be playing Legend ZA. I think players will also eventually, maybe a couple months after that, get access to Pokemon Champions. Again, this is another Pokemon title that we don't have a release date for. This is Pokemon Champions is a title that is going to be cross mobile, Switch 1 and Switch 2, and we really don't have that much information about it. But this is going to be a battle simulator of sorts is what we're expecting. And I wonder how much better it'll look on Switch 2.
To Pokemon Stadium and Pokemon Battle Revolution.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe it'll have a Switch 2 edition or a Switch 2 patch that makes it look a lot better on the Switch 2.
I think it'll just inherently look better on Switch 2.
That's true too.
I think it will for sure.
I think it'll look great on mobile and Switch 2, and it'll just not look that great on Switch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
maybe.
I don't know if we talked about it on the pod, but there's like footage of Champions, but people are thinking that it's not footage of Champions, but it's just like those specific like video moments animations in it.
What is it? We haven't talked about this at all.
So like when you watch the trailer, there's like a line that says this is not real game footage, and it's just the part where they're like flying through the hyperspace or something. Right? Yeah. But the actual game, this right here is gameplay. I'm pretty sure.
That makes sense.
It does say not actual gameplay footage on there though.
Not right here.
Yeah, it's just when it comes
at the
here
bottom.
It doesn't. Here it doesn't though, does it?
I feel like I'm seeing it at the bottom.
It does, Lumi. You're right.
Yeah.
I see it right here. I do see it. Yeah.
But it might be later when they're using attacks, because it shows it again in a minute with them like actually like Aegislash uses Hyper Beam.
This might
and I think maybe that scene it doesn't.
This might be a situation where it's like this is all pre-rendered for the trailer. So it's not actual gameplay footage because it's literally not a recording of gameplay. But
yeah, it was.
I guess I'm expecting it to look like this.
Yes, absolutely.
I feel like we should probably because they didn't just make it like this for no reason.
Absolutely.
So this is, and I think what we're expecting is that Pokemon Champions is going to be a free-to-play game with some sort of gacha mechanics, or maybe the gacha is that you have to buy, the new Pokemon games, transfer those Pokemon into Pokemon Home, connect it to Pokemon Champions, and then that's how you get access to your Pokemon.
A subscription, though. Still a subscription, I would imagine.
No,
if it's free to play.
I don't think it'll be a subscription.
Yeah, I mean, it's all speculation, though. Like, they have not said it's going to be gacha. Mobile. They have not said that it's going to be a subscription. We assume that they're profiting off this somehow.
Yeah.
And so the question is, would it be gacha? Would it be subscription? Would it be something else?
I guess it could be.
I mean, home is mobile too, so it's just like it can be a 1 year subscription kind of thing where it's like $15 for the whole year.
Because Pokemon Home is subscription based as well. That's by the way another game that technically will be on the Nintendo Switch 2. Like it's on the Nintendo Switch 2. Pokemon Home. It's not,
Yeah.
I don't think there's going to be a Pokemon home Nintendo Switch 2 edition, you know?
Yeah. Something else that we can expect this year, I don't know. I don't think this is at launch, but we do have GameCube ports coming to the Switch too. This is kind of a big deal, I think. Wow, that's a really good point. But we want to thank our sponsors.
Yeah, we want to thank all y'all out here supporting the show. There's so many of y'all, both on Patreon and on YouTube. We want to give a special shout out, though, to our mythical tier members. We have Ryan, Amphosinus, Cornet Highlander, Chris, Adam Gibson, Tyler Low 15, Night Marcher, Ogan, Case, Astro Tempest, Sully the Skeleton, Hana's Dad, Travis Mashburn, Normal Guy, NMT Arts, Ball Guy Leaks, Travis Edwards, Northender, and the Pokey Kid 01. We want to give a special shout out to our Arceus tier supporters, Red and SEH Art Gold. I almost said Heart Gold. SEH Art
No, it's
Gold.
a Heart Gold. I like Heart Gold, yeah.
And then I think that's the purpose of the reference there.
Yeah.
But then also we want to give a Mega Evolve shout out to our Game Freak Inc. level members, Young Smokey and Bremtastic. Thank you all so much.
Thank you guys so much. I literally shaved my
awesome.
face today because I wanted to show my appreciation. I wanted you guys to see the real me. That's how much we appreciate
It was
you guys.
not because his clippers broke while he was shaving.
Yeah, it wasn't that at all. It was definitely because I just wanted to show the I'm sick of hiding from you guys. Thank you for all. Listen, this list gets longer and longer. We are an independent podcast, and we can only grow and keep producing content week to week with your support. I know it sounds cliche, but if every single person supported like you guys, like the people we just read, we would literally be able to do this full time and not have anything else to worry about in our lives except for our loved ones.
Which would mean that you get more content and you get even more quality in content.
Yes.
So as always, if you want your name read on the show, links are in the description to join Patreon or to become a YouTube channel member. For just $5, you can become a channel member. You can join our exclusive secret Discord and join in all the fun that we have over there. We've got a battle league. You can join in through the Discord. You can also join in on Q&As that we do. You can join. You can literally join a live call-in show when we do those. We're also doing movie nights. We're doing organized movie nights over in the Discord. That's been a lot of fun. And of course, I think the premium tier here is that we have a ton of bonus. I wrote monthly podcasts, but really, we've been doing like 1 to 2 bonus content, bonus podcasts every month for the last 2 years. So there's so much content that you can unlock for just $5. $5 a month. That's less than a coffee. And you get 10% off
In this
merch.
economy.
I know, seriously. That's less than a gallon of milk in this economy.
That's less than a candy
dozen of
bar
eggs.
in some places, man.
$5 gets you in the door. And if you want to, if you're feeling generous, we do have higher tiers where we'll read your name out loud, and there's some other priority involved with that. Like I said, links are in the description, and also, like I said, thank you guys for all your continued support. We are independent, and we cannot do this without your support. Thank you so much. GameCube.
At least the
ports.
Pokemon games that are coming to the GameCube edition of Nintendo Switch Online, they are not at launch. They had them shown in the coming later thing.
Sure.
But we know it'll be Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness and Pokemon Colosseum.
Yeah, and that's a big deal. I mean, those were
very big deal.
Those are coveted games.
Yeah, a lot of people are getting them.
And there's a big question here. If you've been a fan of the podcast, this is something that I think about quite often. I love replaying old games, and I guess a little part of me died when I saw that GameCube ports would be coming, and those GameCube games, Colosseum and Gale of Darkness, there's been multiple times where the creators at Game Freak have outwardly said, very candidly, that they really want nothing to do with those titles, that those titles are not canon or in line with modern core series Pokemon games. So the fact that Gale of Darkness and Colosseum are going to be ported, I have no faith that those games will have connectivity to Pokemon Home. And I really think they just kind of function as standalone titles, right?
Do they? Because they're going to be available through, the NES or whatever it's called, where you play all these Nintendo games of the past on your Switch. do they have any other game on there, like Mario, Zelda, any kind of game on the Nintendo Switch Online that connects to something outside of Nintendo Switch Online?
I don't
That's a good
think
question.
so. I don't think so.
Yeah, I
However,
don't think so either.
Yeah, I don't think so. I guess I could see it going either way. If Game Freak and the Pokemon Company wanted connectivity between these GameCube games and home, they could do it. They would figure it out. They could do it. But a little
Stadium currently doesn't. Just so we be clear about it. Like, so Stadium doesn't. So that's already one point against it.
And
I feel like kind of like what because we've mentioned like the idea of ports of the mainline games in the past, and I feel like kind of what we've said about them, if they're going to be connected to home, I imagine Game Freak is going to release those as like their own game, and it's not going to be something 100%. That you can get through the Nintendo Switch Online service. It's going to be more like for comparison, you're seeing that there's GameCube games playable on here, but remember when Mario for their anniversary released a game, like you would go to your GameStop and buy it or buy it off the eShop, and it was a game that had Super Mario Sunshine, Super Mario 64, and Super Mario Galaxy all in one game. And I feel like that is the approach Game Freak would have to their mainline Pokemon games.
Yeah.
And I feel like if they wanted this to connect to Pokemon Home and they wanted it to be a part of the Pokemon family, if you will, you'd be seeing that happen with these games as well.
I agree. But I do think that they would do it like just a free, or not a free game, like a game on the eShop kind of thing. Like, here's Pokemon Silver.
You could buy it digitally.
Or, digital, exactly. Or they do what we really want, and that's like a collection. And that could still be digital. But like, kind
of depends on how much they want to release it once, I think. Because like if they want to drop Gens 1 through 3, they're probably going to offer some kind of collection package. But if they're only going to release Gen 1 and then maybe Gen 2 next year, they're probably just going to release them individually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think...
Which I'm down.
Well, tell me this, guys, because so, the rest of 2025 is really just, all of these existing Pokemon games that we're going to have access to on Switch 2. But once we get into 2026, right, on February 27th, 2026, there is likely, I think we're all expecting the announcement and the reveal of the 10th generation of Pokemon, right? The start of that new generation with a new set of games.
Let's go.
And I guess what I'm trying to understand is like, is there a chance that those GameCube ports aren't released? Well, and this is something else. 2026 marks the 30th year anniversary for the Pokemon Company. This is something that we've been excited about here on the podcast in the community. But like, would those GameCube ports be, those Pokemon GameCube games be, held off until the 30th year anniversary? And maybe that's when they release some other classic Pokemon ports, right? Like maybe Red, Blue, and Yellow, Gold and Silver, Ruby and Sapphire. Do you think they're gonna hold off on releasing those ports until the 30th year anniversary? For any
I may
of
have
them.
Misunderstood what
for
you
any
meant,
of them.
For Gale of Darkness and Colosseum, I definitely don't think so. I think those will
But we don't have a date for those right at the moment.
We don't, but I don't.
I think I think they launch. They're with launch. I thought they were launching with the Switch 2.
They showed some things that were like going to be at launch, like Wind Waker was one of them, but then like it shows coming later or coming soon or something like that, and it was like a reel of games, and that included there you go, right there, you were on it. More titles will be added. See, so like these are gonna be coming later. But this was announced.
Hold off until 2026. That's only 6 months away.
This was
True.
Yes, but this was announced in April, early April, the first week of April. So that would be 10 months after, which is a long time. And again, I feel like Pokemon doesn't care enough about these titles to say, hey, can you hold that off for our anniversary? I think instead, like, my personal bet has been for a bit now that 30th anniversary Pokemon's going to announce Gen 10, absolutely, but they're also going to announce, hey, here's either a classic collection or you can go on the eShop and get Pokemon Yellow, Pokemon Red, Pokemon Blue, whatever.
Maybe they're like,
I don't think they want to waste their time with this.
Okay,
right,
so let's move on to Generation 10. That's exciting because I think the scenario that I'm imagining in my mind is, all right, February 27th, 6th. It's Pokemon Day. It's the anniversary of the series. It's the 30th year anniversary of the series.
It's hype.
They go. You have a brand new generation of games coming out, but guess what? Right now, you can download Pokemon Yellow, Red, Blue, Gold, Silver, right? Yada yada yada. They drop some classic games on the eShop. Would be cool. I mean, I would love a physical set of Pokemon games. Like if I actually had,
That'd be awesome.
I don't have a cart right here, but if there was literally like a cart, right? And you open it up and there's a Switch 2 title or game in it or something, right? That would be so cool to have that little tiny.
Watch, they're gonna use those new blank cartridges that everyone hates.
Sure, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? They're gonna use those.
Just
But if they do a collection, I feel like there will be a physical release of them.
Yeah, I agree.
But some of them, it might just be digital, or like you can go buy a download card for it. Kind of like that's how it was with the virtual console games they released on the 3DS.
Yeah.
But I'm with you, Dusty. I would love to have a Switch case that's got chubby Pikachu on it and it says Pokemon Yellow. Man, that'd be awesome.
How disappointed will you be if this doesn't happen?
If there are no ports?
I think there's a real world where they don't give us any ports at all next year.
Yeah, I won't be that. I mean, I'll be. It's just like, I mean, at this point, I'm not like bummed out anymore. Listen, I've learned the ways of emulation. Let's say that much.
Yeah.
I've learned a new skill.
Wait, but they don't want you to do that.
I know.
mean, no, they're not going to let you play the games. But
I know.
They don't want you to do that.
I know. But I'll be fine with it.
What are we supposed to do?
I think what excites me about I think the incentive of porting these games officially is that it breathes new life into these classic games that mean a lot to me. I'm sure that mean a lot to listeners, right? And I'm not just talking about Red, Blue, and Yellow. Like I mostly grew up with Gold and Silver. I grew up with Ruby and Sapphire. Even Black and White, right? Like I grew up with a lot of those older games, and I think I don't know. There's a lot of different things. Obviously, you can go and play those games whenever you want, but that's a niche hobby to play those games. But if Pokemon embraces these classic games and says you can now get them, they're widely accessible, right? People who are not willing to make that step to emulate or to buy a dedicated emulation console or whatever, right? Can now appreciate them. Also, the games are inherently higher quality. There's also a lot of fun things that they could do, like unlocking, lost, mystery gift events or whatever, right? There's a lot of mythical Pokemon that are no longer available. When we got Pokemon Crystal on the 3DS, they unlocked the Celebi event that most players had never even experienced, and now that's a core part of anyone who wants to replay, Crystal version. It's like you can actually go get, Celebi, which feels like unlocked content. Also, I think the ease of access to have these things on, your brand new system is also a big deal. And then also it's like for us, I feel like if we're playing these old Pokemon games and you guys who are listening are playing these old Pokemon games, there's all this incentive to like have conversations about all these classic things again. They become relevant. So I think there's a lot of incentive.
Sure.
There's all these good reasons why these things should be ported. I think it's also difficult to even get these games. But yeah, if they're not ported, no big deal. If they're not ported, no big deal.
I just have a feeling we're saying like for sure it's going to happen, and then all of a sudden they just don't do it, and it sucks because we got our hopes up for that. But
yeah, I mean, I think I would be.
I think I made a good point.
I really do think I would be shocked if they didn't do it. Would I be disappointed? Not necessarily. Like I'm not gonna. It's not gonna break my heart. I'll be like a little bit like, man, I can't believe they didn't do that. But yeah, I'll live.
Yeah, it's
like
all right.
Dusty said. I can probably in 20 minutes, find one to play right here while we're doing this.
You could. Let's just stop the podcast and go play some Pokemon.
They got our phones now.
Let's just stream it. Yeah, they are on our phones now, which is insane.
My childhood friend was like texting me like, "Oh yeah, I'm playing Soul Silver on my phone," and so it's like, "Oh, okay, well, it's easy to access."
Yeah. So okay. So let's plot this out for listeners then. Okay, 2026. maybe Champions comes out. We're all playing Legends EA. Pokemon Day comes out. What are we thinking? What do we think 2026 is looking like? The 30th year anniversary of the franchise. February, they're gonna. I think it's a pretty. I'm pretty confident they're gonna announce a new set of starters for Generation 10. They're gonna tell us what the games are called. We're gonna get a little taste of maybe what the vibes are.
I need that whole trailer that
I know
Paldea, Galar,
Dude,
they
yes.
show the world.
Maybe
the whole time we're sitting there. Oh, it's Detective Pikachu 2, but it wasn't.
Yeah. I think on the 30th year anniversary, there's a pretty good chance. Like I said, we get some more ports, which is just like fanfare to, celebrate that this franchise has been around for 30 years. I think
100%.
there's probably going to be a bunch of different events that are happening in all these like mobile games. That's not Switch 2, so we don't care about that as much.
They did for the 20th anniversary. They did the not only mystery gifts in these games, but they did the year of the mythical, right? And
Very
20,
cool. Yes, let's do
16.
that.
So they might do something
the
like
shiny.
that.
The year of the shinies.
Dude, that's cool.
We start it off or end it with shiny Koraidon and Miraidon. You got it.
Yeah,
That's easy.
That's honestly
they can do
fun.
those. They can do the Ruinous Quartet. They can
Loyal
do
3.
That's true. Year of the Legendary again becomes more relevant because there's all these new legendaries that they haven't given away.
I'm dreaming. They'll never do that.
I also think too that throughout next year you'll get of course if Champions is out, then you'll be getting updates. We very well could see updates for that. It said that not all of Pokemon will be available on Champions at launch, which implies to me that there will be future updates for Champions that will add new Pokemon. And who knows, maybe it will add new features, even if it's just new stadium skins. Maybe it's new battle gimmicks. It'll probably update to maybe include new moves if they want this to live through Gen 10. So we could see updates for Champions throughout the year. I think it's very possible we could see Legends EA DLC. We kind of touched on that a little bit, but I just want to hammer that home that I do believe that we will get something. Could it be as small as Legends Arceus Daybreak? Absolutely. But ZA DLC I think will happen. And then you also, if we're talking about games on the Switch 2, technically there is one Pokemon game we forgot existed. That's our bad, but Pokemon Unite is technically
that's true. Yeah,
gonna be on there. And I mean, and that's a game that's still active, right? It still has a circuit, so that could get some kind of
Pokemon Unite DX
specialty.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I could definitely see that. That is a good point about Champions. I think the existence of Champions, if it is, we don't know this, but if it is connected to Pokemon Home and requires you to have those Pokemon registered in Home, right? Pokemon that you get from the main series games, bring them to Home, and then that allows you to unlock them in Champions. That could be extra fuel for the fire, and more incentive for, maybe these classic games to be, on Switch too. If they release Red, Blue, and Yellow, there's an incentive now to go capture those Pokemon, bring them into Home, so you can battle with them in Champions, for example.
Absolutely.
It's the perfect.
The flip side
layout.
is, though, once ZA releases, because we know ZA is going to include the Elemental Monkeys, Patrat, and Furfrou.
Sure.
So now you actually can get every single Pokemon on the Nintendo
Every
Switch.
Pokemon. Except for Ultra Necrozma.
Except
On
for
Switch-
Ultra Necro, but that's a form,
Okay, on Switch 2 or in Pokemon Home?
On Switch, across from Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee to Legends
Okay.
EA, you can somewhere in that range of games get every single Pokemon. But it was making me think, we were talking about the Year of the Mythical, and the thing that I thought about was the only flip side with the Year of the Mythical is that if they do that, not all the Mythicals are in every Pokemon game. But that's the thing, is they could just do it on Home, right?
Yeah.
So you go on Home to claim your Marshadow mystery gift, your Meloetta mystery gift.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, Dusty, Champions is connected to Pokemon Home, and it's incentive there to hey, if you, get that Meloetta mystery gift, you can use it in Champions now.
Honestly, super fun. Super fun. All right.
Honestly, the Year of the Mythical, they didn't do all of the Mythicals.
Yeah, no, they didn't.
So there still were some, and then also we have new Mythicals now since that happened.
Yeah.
They could do another Year of the Mythicals, who knows? Ones that aren't available. But I wanted to say something about Champions. You brought up a good point, Lumi, and it's not it's not so related, but when we were talking about like how do they monetize that game, they could like sell us skins or like different new stadiums, like you were saying.
Throughout the year, exactly.
Yeah, throughout the year. Like, but also what you were saying was like they're going to add things in. I mean, later on in the year, since this is on topic, later on in the year, they could add in, and maybe this is even 2027, but they could add in all of the Gen 10 Pokemon.
Yeah.
Into Champions, which would be kind of epic.
Yeah, like I doubt they do it at launch of Gen 10 because I'd imagine Gen 10's launching November of 2026. And I doubt.
Yeah, so that's tough.
I imagine it would have to be 2027 that you see Gen 10 within Champions. But
probably especially because there's a new gimmick with it as well, because the gimmick would probably be added too.
So
and on that subject,
we're kind of dancing around it.
We should do is Gen 10.
So for those who don't know, there are some leaks. There are some there's leaks straight from Game Freak. This is from the Terra leak that happened last year, and then there's also
I would consider those the only leaks. The other ones,
and then there's and then there's also like, you know, a lot of confident rumors that people are circulating online, but there's, you know, it's difficult to call that a true leak when the other information that we have
to them, but
when the other information that we have is like literally from a Game Freak data mine. If you don't want to listen to the leaks, you can use the timestamps below to skip ahead. But I do think for this video, we do want to touch on what we can expect to see in Generation 10. This has to do with, you know, themes, you know, location of the region. You know, we have some code names for what the games are called and some other things. So yeah, fair warning to skip ahead if you don't want to be spoiled. Otherwise, I think Lumi can take it away.
Okay. Everyone shut up. We have a summer sale.
And it's right here at shop.hiddenpowerpodcast.com. Some of you might know we rebranded. Not only did we rebrand all of our visual assets and our podcast art, yada, yada, yada. That's a Seinfeld reference. But we also relaunched our merch store. And to celebrate, we have over 50 items on this store that are eligible for our summer sale. That's 15% off all eligible items. But also just go link in the description. Just go do me a favor. Go into the description, click the button, check out the store, because right now on the screen is what you're looking at. This store just looks gorgeous. Our buddy, our designer, our teammate, Noivi, not only did he take a bunch of sick merch store shots for the store, but he also redesigned the whole thing. It looks absolutely gorgeous. And like I said,
him in the
over 50 items.
First picture.
Yeah, that's him in the first picture. Over 50 items on this store have are discounted for the summer. So anyways, just want to let you know, just want to pop in here right now. Lumi did say something kind of rude earlier. You don't need to shut up.
Look, I'm just wondering why you're still here and you're not at that site looking at this beautiful merch.
If you guys, listen, if you guys want to support us, right? And you want to get some swag, right? Some dope looking clothes for the summer, some easy breezy colorways for the summer. We got it all right here. Shop.hiddenpowerpodcast.com. Links in the description. We'll see you soon. Bye.
Go
now.
Yeah, let's just go ahead and kick it off. Iron Man dies. So
it's actually Han Solo.
I am Iron Man.
I am.
I don't feel very good, Mr. Tony Stark.
But so the region is Greece. It seems that specifically it is the Cyclades, which is a group of islands within Greece. So it would actually not Greece is like there's like a mainland portion and then there's a bunch of islands. It's the islands.
By the way, I would still count this in like the not hard leaks because this is not from the Terra leak. The only thing I feel like you should, if you want to classify them,
that's fair.
The things from the things from the Terra leak are, maybe Lumi, you can take it away because I don't know if I'm going to cut out or anything, but just that they are an island nation, right?
Yeah, it's an island hopping adventure. There's going to be some themes of Pokemon affecting the environment and the environment affecting Pokemon. That seems to be a heavy theme in this. Like, this is all like from meetings that took place in the Terra Leak. Where the stuff about Greece specifically comes from is you have first Coup was the first to kind of hint that it was Greece. Riddler Coup, for those who didn't know, is a guy who has been leaking at one point a 100% track record with like Pokemon Legends Arceus and Pokemon Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Track record did get admittedly shaky after that. Whether you want to attribute that to him being a liar or to, things changing over time and thus he was just wrong.
Yeah.
It remains, up to you. But this guy does have a past of being able to leak stuff, and he has heavily implied that it is Greece. Then we also have some people who have like actively been kind of covering stuff that was happening in the. In fact, mentioned there, Ball Guy does mention that that was where the thing comes from about Gen 10 being set in the Cyclades specifically. But
I don't know if Ku actually has suggested that. I don't. We don't need to get into details like that. But I don't
feel like he.
I don't think that he has. The only thing he had was the praying hands, and I don't remember him saying anything about the specific region.
Let's keep this top level. Let's keep this top level for we do a lot of this leak coverage and analysis week to week, but let's just keep this high level right now for anyone new who may be listening.
I just don't want to put words in his mouth.
Yeah, totally.
Well, it's for the people. The next thing you know, people are like, "Who said this?" And then he didn't actually say it. So
yeah,
from the Terra Leak, we know that this project is going to be called Gaia. Yep. GAIA,
yes.
And we can go into it when we cover it all, but there's speculation you can do on that. Specifically, there were two versions listed in the Terra Leak, a K version and an N version. There is speculation that K could stand for Kaze and N could stand for Nami. Kaze, wind is what Kaze means, and then Nami means wave. So then hypothetically, the games would be Pokemon Winds and Waves.
Yeah.
That lines up with Game Freak talking about it being an island hopping adventure. And it seems that traveling between the islands is like an important part of this game. So like, and I say that to compare it to like in Alola, you didn't really travel between the islands. That was not an important part of the game. The stories were on the islands, but traveling between them was a quick cutscene until Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon gave you Mantine surfing. Whereas Game Freak has implied in their meetings that the emphasis in this region is that time you're going to take to get from Island 1 to Island 2.
Yeah. And for kind of what I'm imagining, right? Like what I'm imagining when I think of this game, when I play Scarlet and Violet, it feels like the biomes are expansive but barren. And I think the opportunity for this game is that even though the ocean is, vast and, on the surface, nothing's going on. Some other things that we've seen, and I think kind of what I'm imagining based on the power of the Switch 2 is that with all these new islands, every single new island that you go to is a chance for discovery, right? You could find new Pokemon, new characters, new items. It also seems like there might be the ability to not only fly, like in many other Pokemon games, but it seems like in this open world Pokemon game, you can dive underwater, which we've really only seen once or twice, only really once in a comprehensive way in the Hoenn games. But I think this game has the potential to really cater towards those of us almost like who enjoy exploration in video games. I think this could be a lot of fun, right? Every single new island, because again, this is like a fantasy region. It's the Pokemon world. They're not all going to be the same, tropical, biomes. They're going to be vastly different. You're going to have a fire island, an ice island, a fairy island, right? And you're going to have all sorts of characters in Pokemon. I think this could be a lot of fun. Really, really a lot of fun.
That's something nice too.
That's actually a huge part. Yeah.
Yeah, the thing about diving, like that's another thing that like got leaked from the Terra leak is like an actual image of diving.
Yeah,
That
of
is a real
something
one.
diving. Yeah,
Yep.
so we don't know what a lot of these things, right? These are just hints that we've thought about, and we're kind of expanding them to, you know, maybe as far as they can really go with the idea. We don't really know how much of this will be in here, but again, if we're thinking about the Switch 2, from what we've seen, from what people have told us, I think the Switch 2 can handle a lot. The Switch 2 can handle a game that's a lot more dynamic, especially and hopefully Game Freak can, you know, arise to meet the challenge.
And diving just makes sense too, because this is something that like Game Freak just like wanted to do and like has scrapped sometimes. You know, like you see it in Unova, you saw it in Hoenn. It was planned for Sun and Moon, but was scrapped.
Yep.
So, you know, it's believable as well.
And then
there
I
is
think that's
an
a very
image out
telling
there
thing,
of
actually.
a Luminion diving under the, like it's underwater and there's a Luminion swimming.
Yep.
So did want to say that that is like a thing that's out there. I believe that's our only Gen 10 image that's out there, though.
Yeah. And then some more speculation. Yeah. This is not the hard leaks, but I think it is pretty exciting. Again, this is the Generation 10, the Switch 2 Pokemon game that's coming out in 2026. Do you guys want to talk about this? The gimmick has to do with these like divine entities. Again, this is maybe soft leak, you know, maybe confident rumor.
Like
I don't know how you want to categorize it.
Yeah, look, the fact is, I'm going to be honest, I don't trust this.
Okay.
If I'm completely
then we don't even need to talk about it. Yeah.
No, I mean, we certainly can, because it is based in something legit. Like, so where this comes from is there is coding from the Terra League for something called Majin.
Okay.
And
Majin is a code name in the Terra League.
Yeah, 100%. Before that was public knowledge. So before the world knew that Majin is in the Terra League, someone claimed, hey, the new gimmick in Gen 10 is called Majin, and detailed it. Then it came out that, Majin was actually mentioned in the Terra League.
Yeah.
So it has like that cred of like, you know, that was a real thing in the Terra League, and, you know, this person wasn't just grabbing it. Because so often you'll see that happen, like where a real leak will come out that like, oh, hey, Mega Charizard Z is happening. That's not a real leak, by the way, but hypothetically. And then right after that, all these 4chan posts will begin with like, Mega Charizard Z is happening, right? And so, yeah, I did want to say that where this is like, where we're giving this attention is this person called Majin before it was known that Majin was like a legit thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So top level, what does Majin do? We got a lot more to move on to.
So top level, it is supposed to be this gimmick where basically the premise will be, and this kind of tells you a lot about the game's plot. There will be these like spiritual beings. They're like not Pokemon that are almost comparable to, in fact, they're inspired by like the Greek gods. So think like Greek gods in Pokemon, and you will be able to have your Pokemon like hold an item representative of a certain Greek god, and that will give it a certain kind of boost. And then
so it's like they're the attributes of the Greek gods. Let's say Zeus is thunder and strength. Let's say now my Charizard can be bestowed upon. It can absorb the power of electricity and strength, perhaps.
Sure, or maybe it's even just as simple as like Charizard gets an attack boost.
Great,
And then some Pokemon are, according to this, supposed to have a special form. So think about how every single Pokemon can Dynamax, but some Pokemon like Kingler or Blastoise can Gigantamax. Some Pokemon will take on a new appearance when they do this little special gimmick. And that new form would probably come with a more significant power boost. Yeah. And obviously, it's a new form, so it would be a new Pokemon design.
This feels like a more specialized and maybe more well thought out Mega Evolution form. So I really enjoyed this.
The claim here is that it came from Game Freak. Really liked how the terrestrialization gimmick, and this actually makes a lot of sense when you think about it. The terrestrialization gimmick is so successful purely because it's customizable. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, because I can make the choice to go, okay, I want my Urshifu to be Terra fighting so that my close combat hits harder, or I want my Urshifu to be Terra steal, so that now play rough is not very effective against it. And the idea here is, since there would be multiple Majin that you can, gimmick to, you can have the choice of, do I want, to use your example, Dusty, do I want my Charizard to do the little Zeus thing where it can take electric attacks well? Or do I want to do the Poseidon thing where it gains the water type,
Yes. That's fun, man. That's a lot of fun. So that's cool. That would be a really cool gimmick, I think. Yeah, I'm looking at this. How much more? I guess some of this is a little bit in the weeds.
You don't even need to cover that stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of, we just gave a general overview of all of it anyway.
Oh, and then the other big thing is that
I think he covered it well.
Allegedly, again, this is one of the rumors
coming from the same person.
This is one of the rumors. Not calling this real. 120 new Pokemon for the Generation 10 games. 70 new designs
planned.
Are reportedly in final development stages. So that's a lot of Pokemon. A lot of Pokemon, new generation, big new game, Switch 2 title. It's exciting. I think there's some exciting stuff here.
Now, is it real or was someone's written to?
Yeah.
You decide.
Yes. What were you going to say, Soul? He might have froze.
I believe he's froze, yeah.
I know. I think one of the more important things to say about it all is that it feels very, very much like a Alola 2.0. A lot of the ideas from Gen 7 are being reused here. And I think that that's important because that was the 20th anniversary. Yeah. And it's weird that they decided to do the same kind of thing for the 30th anniversary. But I think it's on purpose, and I think that they're bringing back a lot of the ideas that they didn't get to do in Alola, like diving. Yep. Like they literally were going to do diving in Alola. So
that's a really
it's just
good
important
point.
to look at all that stuff. So if they're bringing like 120 Pokemon, that's quite a bit compared to Alola, which had very few. Like Alola actually had one of the smallest dexes ever. Well, not dexes, but new Pokemon.
Smallest next to Kalos.
That's a really good point.
Yeah, if you don't count the megas. The thing is, Alola didn't have any forms either like that. So like it just had. Yeah, exactly.
No, that's a really good point.
So
it is also when you look at it like that if it's taking a lot of things from Alola and just what we know islands, like this island, this tropical setting is coming back from Alola. We know that diving is also supposed to, it's planned for this game. It was planned at one point for Alola. And the interesting thing is, even daggum, I just realized this, even the detail of Game Freak talking about how it's going to be about how Pokemon can infect their environments, and then the environments can affect the Pokemon. Dude, like that's regional variants, Oricorio, even the Tapus, like all of that was very intrinsically tied to like that same kind of theming. And the interesting thing is so one thing that was scrapped from Alola that I think I would almost bet, if there's one thing I can bet would be in Gen 10, is Survival Island. And that is, this was a scrap feature in Alola where you and 3 other players, it was the earliest form of the raid system, you and 3 other players would be dropped onto this island with mecha Pokemon that would be attacking you, and you'd have to survive on this island and also catch Pokemon. Again, the earliest version of the raid system. And this is just this is interesting because you see Game Freak, they implemented the raid system in their mainline games first in Pokemon Sword and Shield. And then they expanded on it in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet and made it a little more where you're not having to sit there and just wait for your buddy to, hurry up and click his move.
True.
And I feel like this is that next step.
And I think I think we might actually be seeing some of the groundwork displayed in Legends Z. I think the new real-time combat in Legends EA could be something that is implemented into the main series games, into this Generation 10 title, but not in traditional battling, but instead in something kind of parallel, perhaps the raid system. I think that's possible.
Yeah, I think it's comparable to how the Let's Go feature had its own thing in Starfall Street.
Yeah.
But it wasn't.
I love that so much, actually. If you could do the live action battles in the overworld of the game, that's actually really exciting to me, because you have that option. If you want to have something that's a little bit more competitive, and like that traditional turn-based chess style Pokemon battles, you can do that, but you have the option to do things a little bit more fluidly in the overworld.
We talked about this recently, but we can't leave out the Synchro Machine either, because it was like a prototype in Gen 9, so I think that in Gen 10 it will be a feature.
Like they
should be a feature
in
this game.
The Synchro Machine is just a prototype. Like they stated that outright in the game. So
and it was really successful for the DLC. Like there were so many people taking pictures. They still do, like in pictures and post it on social. Like it's such a engaging feature for the internet.
It's a social feature. Yeah. It's kind of fun.
People are synchro machining as Revavroom and racing. Yeah. And it's actually really cool.
Yeah.
That is nice. So, okay. So Generation 10 is going to be a big title. I think Soul brought up something really key that like this, because this is the 30th year anniversary, I do think they want to, I think some of the themes could be similar to what we saw in the 20th year anniversary game Sun and Moon. I'm expecting themes of nostalgia, celebration of the past.
Yes.
Alola is all about different types of, what would you say? I guess how like an environment changes a person or a Pokemon, and then bringing those they're not cultures, but those different types of ways of life together. We could see something similar with this island hopping adventure.
Right. If I could say, if I could say something about it, I think the way that it would be different is that they kind of are going to flip it in the sense where, like you were saying earlier, Dusty, each island isn't going to just be like this tropical experience where it's just all like the same culture, but each island is going to have its own culture and its own vibe. And that's basically from the Terra Leak as well. And the outer entities are what's going to affect the environment. Yeah. So it's going to be different in that way from Alola. And also what Lumi was talking about traveling. Because it's the same idea, but they're going to do it in a different way, basically. Yeah. That's what it seems like.
I can see it. So, okay, so Gen 10, we're going to get that likely at the end of 2026. But as we move into 2027, right, the Switch 2 is only maybe, I guess a year and a half, 2 years old at this point. As we move into 2027, we could potentially see, and I don't think we're going to be as in-depth, but we could see DLC for Generation 10. I think there's a track record to say that there is going to be DLC. Mm-hmm. What that could look like, it's tough to say what DLC would be for a game that we don't understand, but I think it could go either two ways. It could either be a thing where maybe there are more islands that open up, and I think that could be kind of cool if we look at where what are you calling them? The Cyclades, or I guess we could just think of Greece.
Cyclades is the official pronunciation.
Okay, yes. So if we imagine where Greece is and where those islands are, that is in the what is it called? Is it the Mediterranean Sea? Is that what it's called? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Mm-hmm. That's like a little dish, and there are all. If you think of that little pool as a playground, there are so many surrounding. Coastal regions that we could theoretically go to, and we could either do just
Egypt,
some neighboring regions, or we could do something a little bit more exciting like we saw in Scarlet and Violet DLC, where we go somewhere that feels completely different from the base game. And I actually think that is what they would want to do. I think all of the DLCs have felt so different culturally than the mainline inspiration.
Mm-hmm. So imagine Egypt. Instead of getting a second map, you just like when you buy the DLC, you see like you're honed in on the map and you just see it go like and
zooms out and now you see all those new potentials.
That'd be so cool.
Yeah.
The thing is for Egypt, I was just thinking about this like as we're talking, but it's very connected to Greek culture. Like Egypt was like the first real civilization kind of thing, and after that is there's a little bit in between, but Greece is like the next big one. And so they're very tied to each other, very close to each other.
Cleopatra
I could totally see it instead of doing a whole like region of Egypt, like they just do, Cairo, where the sphinxes and the what am I thinking? The pyramids.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't think of the word.
The triangle things.
Yeah, the big triangles. But yeah, they could do something like that. Turkey's very close and very involved in the history, and even Rome is, but I don't think that they would go as far to Italy to be a part with the culture. Yeah, there you go. You got a whole map. There's tons. Cyprus is huge.
But I mean, and then if they wanted to do anything that's familiar, you do have on the far end
more islands.
You have what would be, France would be Kalos in the Pokemon region. Spain and Portugal would be Paldea in this region. So you could even see some. And listen, I'm not trying to go back to those two regions, considering that's where we are at the moment. But I do think it would be interesting to see returning characters from these, familiar regions, but also from these regions that we've never been to before. Literally, there's so many regions here.
Something. I don't know if you have any other thoughts on this, but I want to propose something else, which is Game Freak likes to change things up so often. And you did say, like, we don't know anything about this because this is a game we don't understand. It's very true. But they did third versions for like a number of years, and then they started changing it. The third versions became, a sequel, and then it became, it was changing a lot. Like the third version was like the same game, but with literal DLC attached to it. Like the Rainbow Rocket was DLC for Sun and Moon, like no doubt. And then they actually did DLC. So what I'm thinking is, like, how long do they do DLC for? Like, maybe in Gen 10, what we get is something completely different that we can't even fathom. Because I don't know what it would be, but like a different type of DLC almost. You know what I mean? They kind of did it with Gen 9.
I'm open to what you're saying. I'm trying to think right now, but I think there would need to be an incentive. I don't think they're going to change it up just to change it up. I think there needs to be an incentive for them to return to third versions, because I think historically the third version, where they basically reskin the existing game, they add new stories, they add all these enhancements. Like those games end up selling a fraction of what the original game sold, and I wonder.
Right.
Because if there's already an install base if already 20 million people have the Generation 10 game, how many of those people are then a really easy conversion to buying the DLC, right?
Right.
Like I guess I'm just trying to think it from that perspective.
I don't know about going back to third versions. I'm just saying maybe they have like some brilliant new idea that we don't know. Ultimately, it would still be a form of DLC.
Yeah,
because it would have to be something that they can sell to us.
But it could be like just a brand new game essentially.
Or like when you're talking about like making a living game, maybe they just like continue building into the new Gen 10 region where they just
this is great. So maybe
for so much more.
I love this. Yeah, maybe the duration for the rest of Generation 10, that would be 2026, 27, 28, maybe potentially 29. If that's 3 to 4 years after Generation 10 comes out in this title, I guess what I was theorizing in the past is that we get these maybe more substantial DLCs that instead of just adding a new biome, a new Pokemon, what if there's actually a story there? What if there's a new challenge there, right? And essentially the DLC feels more like a brand new game that is slapped on at the end of your adventure in Generation 10. But then what happens is every year after that, they add a new DLC that is essentially a brand new region or whatever. And I guess what I'm thinking about, and there's so many holes you could poke in this, right? Like, I mean, I'd love to hear
of course,
the thoughts in the comments about this. But like, what I'm imagining is a version of like, when you complete your Johto adventure, you go to Kanto and there's more badges. Like, what if we go back to, like, right now, we're about to play Pokemon Legends ZA, and that game feels nothing like a remake of Kalos. But what if the DLC for Generation 10 is something like where we go to Kalos and you actually do the gym gauntlet, right? You get to battle all of these old gym leaders from a different point in time. I think something like that is maybe something like that always puts a little twinkle in my eye, because it's fun to revisit these locations from a new perspective and see these characters grow, adapt, to see and learn how the region has changed over time. So I don't know if you're thinking about that, Soul, but like that feels maybe a little bit more substantial than just a new location for DLC.
I think anything's on the table. Yeah, anything's on the table. I think that's a great idea. I was even thinking kind of the opposite, where it was just like you pay for a service and they just are continually updating the game. Like they're continually putting new content into the game. And that's what you get instead of like a full DLC where it, like that's like a living game where it's like, oh, we're getting new Pokemon this month, you know, like something like that. A new story this month, you know.
No, that's really good. I totally see that, because that
twist.
is like a third. That's like a third version where it's like even the UI can be enhanced, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think that they like to you know, I think the reason they moved to DLC is because DLC is what's popular. You know, people like to purchase a game now and kind of wonder what could be next for that game.
Yeah.
I feel like it's going out though. It's kind of changing. I'm telling you, to like these living games are kind of huge right now.
Well, I think DLC has adapted that, and like their pass system, where now like so the way the Mario Kart World and Super Smash Brothers was this way, or not Mario Kart World, excuse me, I'm already in the future. Mario Kart 8 and the Super Smash Brothers DLC worked was like it was a pass system where you first got the like here's 8 races, and then a few months later it was like here's 8 races, and I think for both games it lasted like 2 years.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And it felt new the whole time. That's kind of the thing. I think a lot of Pokemon games, even with the DLC, have just felt so behind. They have never felt like upon launch, they've already felt outdated. And I think we're searching for a little bit of that, trying to make sense, like trying to justify how, you know, it's like almost like we're like begging Game Freak to just like, it's just sit with your game for a little bit longer. Sure, release it, but then a year later, update it so it actually feels new. You know, like that's almost like what we're trying to do.
I'd like to see the world that we're in updated. Like we talk about what new areas will we go to? Will we go to Turkey in DLC, or will we go back to Kalos or whatever? I'd like to see, you know, them expand on the world a little bit. Like Paldea felt
100%.
so empty to me.
Yeah.
And it would be so cool if they had in DLC like, hey, a new city has been established right here in this barren part of Paldea. So it's, you know, got a little more life to it now. And there's a new gym leader there trying to start up. You need to go take him on and see if he's, you know, good enough to be a gym leader or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
Like you can, I don't know, I think it'd be cool to have like, I think this would tie well into like a living game where your world updates, not you get to go to a new world, but your world that
100%.
you're currently in changes. There are things going on that you get to see the progression of the characters that you're already calling your friends.
Even something like real world or like real-time seasons, right? I know you can fudge that a little bit in certain games, but if there were these like, you know, if you're connected to the internet, this just, you know, it automatically updates. It's like they could do the Unova system where it's like every real world month is a new season. Stuff like that could make the world, you know, feel a lot more alive. No, this is honestly so great. I think, you know, if you're enjoying this conversation, subscribe, because I think we're going to do another episode just about Generation 10 in the near future. We've already done a bunch of Gen 10 videos, standalone podcasts, but I think I'm getting warmed up for another whole podcast.
You can see what we're excited
just about Generation 10, yeah. All right, so this is cool, because I think this is kind of like part of the conversation. Like, you know, I think we're making the 30th year anniversary feel, in anticipation, we're making it feel like it needs to be this big deal. I don't think it necessarily needs to be a big change. You know, and I mean,
technically this would be after it, but yes.
Yeah, well, but this is the 10th generation of Pokemon, right? Like, in our minds, that means a lot, but it might not mean as much as maybe we're making it sound. This could be a really standard Pokemon game. You know, I hope the open world aspect is fleshed out, but it could be pretty standard. And I guess I'm saying that because Generation 11, which we're not ready to jump to yet, you know, the following generations could maybe there is an opportunity that maybe those feel a little bit more like a reboot, you know. Before we get to that, though, I do think, you know, it's worth discussing that, like, you know, we've currently now received 2 Pokemon Legends titles, Legends Arceus, Legends ZA. On the Switch 2, I'm expecting us to see another Legends title. I'm assuming this is going to happen in Generation 10. I guess 2027 is as good of a guess as anything. Maybe 2028 if each title needs 3 years in between it, in between them.
Yeah. I would give it at least 3 years.
Yeah. If they're working on Legends, like if Legends EA is this year, it would have to be 2028. You know, if that's 3 years for a development cycle. And that makes sense too, because 2026, Gen 10, 2027, Gen 10 DLC, 2028, Legends Johto is my guess.
Legends Johto would be pretty cool, and I think the idea
Same.
And again, we've done full videos on this, but if it's, you know, I think spiritually it can be a Legends Johto game, but I feel like it would be a missed opportunity for them not to say or call this Legends title something more in line with the Kanto region. You know, my pitch is that we already have a Kanto game, a faithful Kanto game on Switch 1, which is, you know, that's Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, very faithful, you know, story-wise, and the presentation of the media, in the presentation of the region and the Pokemon and the characters. It's essentially it's a very faithful remake to the original titles, Red, Blue, and Yellow. I think now that we're moving on to the Switch 2, and Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee is going to be on shelves with every other Pokemon game, right? I think there's an opportunity for a new type of Kanto game that actually takes a risk, that does something different. It reinterprets the Kanto region. I've been playing back some Kanto games recently, and I think they actually hold up really great, and they're actually great games. I think the fatigue that a lot of fans have, maybe you're rolling your eyes while listening to this on your commute to work, but I think the fatigue that we all have is that every time we see Kanto, it's not changed. You know, they're preserving it as it was from 30 years ago, you know? And I think the best iterations of Kanto that we've seen are really in like games where they twist the Kanto region, like in Heart Gold, Soul Silver. So, yeah. Let's go. Legends Johto, Legends Kanto, Legends Indigo, Legends Mew, Legends Lugia, whatever you want to call it. I think the opportunity here is to get a game in Generation 10, a Pokemon Legends game that almost fuses the two regions, Johto and Kanto, since they're neighboring, and explore the lore of this region. I want to learn about these Pokemon, and
I think that's possible. I just think that they would sell it as a Johto game before a Kanto game.
Really?
Just because we haven't... Yeah, because... Listen, I get where you're coming from.
Kanto,
I agree with what
How do you beat Kanto?
I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah.
100%. But the thing is, we are going to be more far removed from the 30th anniversary by that point.
Sure.
Like in 2028, we're not going to be like, it's the 30th anniversary again. You know? So it's not like it has to be tied to like Kanto being a 30th anniversary game or anything.
Yeah.
And Johto, by then in 2028, it'll be like, I think I did the math before. Maybe Lumi, you can do it quick because you're quick at this. But I think it's 18 years. It'll be 18 years since we played a Johto game, or since there was a new Johto game.
Wow.
Like since Johto was playable, 18 years, and it's like
you're talking about Heart Gold, Soul Silver.
By the time of 2028, it will have been 18 years. Yes.
Holy
18
cow.
years.
I
Almost
see what
20
you're
years.
saying. I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So yeah, Kanto might be in there, and it might be a selling point because Johto's never been alone. It's never been sold without Kanto. So the thing is, Legends games could be just Johto because Legends ZA is just Lumio City.
Yeah.
You know, they can do
Legends
anything.
games are for the old heads who have nostalgia and will buy whatever the game is about, like whatever region the game is about.
If you want to be technical,
it can go many ways, but that's the reason I think
if you want to be
Johto
technical, because back then, you know, it wasn't simultaneous release Pokemon games. Heart Gold and Soul Silver came out in 2010 for us. They came out in Japan in 2009, so it will actually have been 19 years.
19 years.
So
almost
like
20
right
years,
at 20 years.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's a long time.
Honestly, that might be a lock. That's why I think it's Johto game no matter what. Like that is the
highest possibility.
I'll always shout him out for this. Toby once mentioned in a video that if you look at the Legends Arceus starters were Rowlet, Oshawott, and Cyndaquil, an Alola, a Unova, and a Johto. And then with Legends ZA, it's Totodile, Chikorita, 2 Johto, which blew all our minds, and Tepig. So still sticking in that same group of Johto, Unova, and Alola, but there's no Alola here. Instead, there's 2 Johto. And Toby's like little miniature speculation, like he didn't do a whole dedicated video to this. It was kind of a snippet of a bigger video.
Yeah.
But he said, like, I think that they did this because they have a Johto game plan, and since it's a Johto game, a Johto Legends game, the starters would not be from Johto, just like how the starters of Hisui were not the Sinnoh starters. The starters of Legends EA are not the Kalos starters. And so it would be the remaining 2 Alola starters and the remaining Unova starter.
Yeah.
And they went ahead and used the Johto here because they have another Johto game plan, and these 2 can't be the starters of that game.
Yeah, I think it looks good on paper. I would say Game Freak can do whatever they want. So they could twist
sure
it. They can twist it. But I like it. I'll take the fuel. I'll take the fuel.
I'll throw a wrench in the whole thing too. We have speculated for a long time, and we've heard from leaks that we believe that there was a Gen 5 remake coming. And then actually, we've talked about Ku already in this podcast episode. He has doubled down and said that there is a Gen 5 remake game in development right now. It is being developed by a third party, so we don't know how that works. But the thing is, when are they gonna freaking drop that as well? Do you know what I mean? Like, in all of this,
I don't think it's coming. Yeah, that's great. But first, I gotta tell you guys about our classic, our best-selling merch collection, Hidden Legacy. This is a beautiful design by our in-house guy, Noivi, aka Anthony. This man is a legend, but he whipped up this gorgeous design for us. It comes in a variety of colors, and on the back of the shirt, this design encapsulates all sorts of inside jokes, and I guess not even jokes. They're not jokes, but they're just they're things that are, I guess, what's the word? An ode to, right? In legacy to, or in respect of. Come on, guys, help me out.
They're all just
I'm drowning
things
over
that
here.
are important to us. I mean, just look at it. Look at it. You've got Mons that we hold dear, right? You've got Soul's Ultra Necrozma. You have my Dragonite. You have Dusty's Cherubi even on
Bro,
there.
We need a solo Cherubi shirt. I gotta talk to Noivi about that. Honestly, I kind of forgot about this, but you got the Pokemon Snap camera up top. That's a classic Hidden Power moment right there. And at this point in time, both Soul and I have played a little bit of Pokemon Snap. So this is kind of a retro design at this point, being a thing. But anyways, this, like I said, this last summer, we had this created to really just kind of like capture not only the legacy of this show, but also just a lot of the designs, but also the colors that we chose were really in service to or meant to remind. They're in the spirit of the summer, right? To me, it reminded me of when we designed this. I was in Maine. I was on the coast, right? I'm living it up. Summer nights, I'm living it up with the sea breeze in the air, right? Sand in my toes, right? What's that old song? My bum's in the water, in the sand, toes in the sand,
toes in the water, bum in the sand.
Oh yeah. You don't know. Well, who sings that?
Is this
is that Jimmy Buffett?
It sounds like a Jimmy Buffett song.
I don't think that's Jimmy Buffett.
No. Who is it? Anyways, whatever. It was a gorgeous summer. Yes, the Zach Brown Band. And this, listen, summer's upon us, and I'm so excited to get back into the vibes of the summer. I'm really excited here on the East Coast to enjoy the summer, and I hope you are too. If you guys want to support the show, if you want something more tangible than just a Patreon membership, if you want something more tangible than just like some extra episodes every single month, you can go to shop.hiddenpowerpodcast.com. Links are in the description to go to this website, and you can get yourself some new Hidden Legacy merch. We have the shirts. It also comes in a sweatshirt. We should make a ball cap. I don't think we've made a ball cap of this design yet, but we also have a stainless steel bottles available. And yeah, I just love this whole collection so much. There is, of course, so many other designs on the store, so feel free to browse around and get something for yourself, get something for your spouse, or I guess you could say significant other if you're younger than 30. And yeah, and thank you guys so much. And let's get back to the show.
But the thing is, at that point, Gen 5 remakes is what is to be expected. Everyone that was before, when we were talking about Gen 5 remakes, they're like, no, Gen 5 remakes comes after Gen 10. That's how it lines up. That's how it always was supposed to be. Gen 4 remakes came in after Gen 8, and then they wait. That it's this specific time frame that Gen 5 remakes is supposed to happen according to fan pattern.
Yeah, which
and also too,
the Hidden Power podcast does not endorse fan patterns. Otherwise, we would have an evolution by this point, or a new type.
Yeah, it's true.
For what it's okay, look, but technically speaking, I mean, there's no evidence to say we'd have a new type by now because that's not really a pattern. But with the Eevee thing, technically we got an Eevee. We got a new Eevee when we were supposed to.
That doesn't
it was
count.
just Gmax Eevee,
No,
and you all were upset about it.
I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it.
To also further hammer home the Unova point with Soul, not only did Ku say this, but also Pyora said this too, and that is a leaker with a very good track record as well.
That's valid.
So it's just also interesting that it was coming from two different places. But for the record, even if they're right, even if they are definitely right, at the end of the day, this could be a game that was planned and scrapped. So, I'm just saying that there's a decent amount of evidence to at least go, it's not off the table.
But this is 4 years ago in the future. So again, Generation 10, and now I'm talking about literally the generation, the 3-4 year period, after the start of a new game. I think also something that's not off the table is a faithful remake. Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl sold very well for an outsourced game. 15 million copies. Times that by $60. You do the math. That's a lot of money. I think it's not off the table for us to receive a Heart Gold Soul Silver faithful remake, a Black and White faithful remake. I think none of these things are off the table. And I definitely would. I don't want to say I expect, or I don't even know if I want a faithful remake. I think I, in some regards, would just prefer a straight up port for some of these titles. But also, if a faithful remake is more attractive to new or younger players, and that gets them playing these older experiences, so be it. If that's the only way we can have a cultural return to a region as a community, I'm also fine with that. You know what I'm saying? To be able to play these Pokemon games. And there were new things that were added, right? We act like Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl added nothing, and that's not totally true, Yeah. Even though they're not
the thing
amazing games standalone.
I think I'm imagining that is the Unova game.
Yeah, that's what we've heard. So that's still on the menu, is like literally a faithful remake of Unova is coming at some point from a third party. But so that's not Game Freak still. So where does that fit? Because I'm thinking what the point, the topic of this episode is like the Switch 2 Pokemon games. Like that would be a Switch 2 Pokemon game. When could it come out? It could come out the same year as the DLC year, 2027.
Yeah, absolutely.
It could be that year, and then 2028 we get the Legends Johto game that we were just talking about.
That makes total sense, Soul. You get DLC like in the summer or something, and then you get not a proper, but a faithful remake
in the fall.
Because to make that $14
like we've talked about
sales.
Right, like we've talked about multiple times that BDSP was never meant to just be sold on its own, and they still accompanied it with Legends Arceus, so that like hardcore normal fans, whatever you want to call us or whoever we are, that we are still satisfied, as well as the casual more fans that we're just like, I want to pick up this faithful remake of Diamond and Pearl. I wanted to bring this point up earlier, and it's relevant again now, which is great. But I don't know if you guys saw the sales that they got.
This was like 2 weeks ago.
2024.
Yeah. Scarlet. Yeah.
Not even 2 weeks ago. No, not even 2 weeks ago. Like a couple, last week.
I'll pull it up.
Yeah.
Talk about it. I'll pull it up.
Last week they put out their revenue for like 2024, and even with them not having a game in 2024, they sold 9 million units. And when you compare that to 2023, which had DLC, they didn't count the DLC in the revenue. So it's like 2023 was 10 million units they still sold. It's just making me think about like what could their years look like. Technically 9 million for them was actually really low. I'm going to see if I can pull up the one that
it was an announcement. It was like I saw, it was just like a tweet, like someone was just saying like, yeah, Pokemon actually sold 9 million units last year, and there was no mainline game.
Great.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of,
so that's true. Another possibility.
It's impressive.
Yeah. Another possibility is that we get a gap year, but I'm not expecting that. I'm not expecting a gap year.
Oh, I think because like even last year with them not doing anything, like 9 million units, they made that much money, but at the same time, it's so low compared to all their other years. It was the lowest year that they've had since I don't even know when. I'm going to pull this up because I really want to show you.
Sure.
Just
probably since their last gap year, which was 2015.
Yeah. Well, the company's at a completely different place. You know, like the community has ballooned for so many different factors, whether it's you know, multiple hobbies expanding during COVID. Pokemon Go was a massive boom since that 2015 gap year. The TCG has expanded. You got so many.
The TCG sold so much too. This was like about the TCG as well.
Everything has expanded.
But then you also have to think about I agree. You do have to think about the TCG
itself,
and the anime and everything too with all what we're talking about.
Yeah. So I mean, just you can find that Soul. We'll pull it up in a little bit later. I think you have to go soon, so I'm going to keep moving. Another game that is floating around that I'm not expecting another of is Let's Go. I just want to write that off. I don't think there's any new Let's Go title in the works.
Thank Arceus.
But I do think the fourth option for when it comes to a quote-unquote spin-off or like a spin-off core series, an alternative, a parallel core series game, right? Something that's not your traditional, you know, it's not Scarlet and Violet. It's not Sword and Shield. You know what I'm saying? Is just something else that we can't even imagine, you know? It's a completely different type of game. Let's Go really focused on capturing Legends. The Legends games also, at least Legends Arceus, focused on capturing. Legends EA seems to be, you know, have a lot of gameplay and action gameplay that focuses on combat. I think the Faithful remakes are, you know, just kind of a cookie cutter port. They're like a glorified port of the original games. Something else that we could see, it really could go in any direction. It could be like a Pokemon. It could be like a Pokemon RPG that like leans into, you know, almost like the cozy game aesthetic. It could be, you know, we could see a Pokemon game that leans into like it being like a farming sim or something, right? Where there's like a lot of core. I'm thinking about Stardew Valley, where you're mining for materials, right? You know, again, these are things that we've seen in the Legends Arceus. But what if that specific thing is expanded into its own type of game? The potential for this is or the options are really endless. I think that'd be fun to do a podcast about that. Different types of Pokemon games that we want to see in the future. But I think
that'd be fun.
Yeah, as we move into the future, there's always an option, potential for us to receive some Pokemon games that are like completely unpredictable.
We're definitely gonna get spin-off games. I mean, on the Nintendo Switch 2, you had Detective Pikachu Returns, you had new Pokemon Snap, you had the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon DX, I think or whatever it was. Pokken Tournament's on there, Unite is on there, Champions is coming. So I would, you know, we're gonna get some kind of Pokemon game on the Nintendo Switch that's a spin-off game. And it's fun because not only could it be some new thing that we're not thinking of, like you're saying, Dusty, but it also, you know, maybe we could see a new Pokemon Mystery Dungeon game. There's definitely like fan calls for that, right?
Yeah.
Maybe we could see. I've seen like people talking about how, and I would personally love to see Pokemon Snap get a Switch 2 patch and it would be even cooler if they wanted to give it a Switch 2 like special level or remix of levels or something. There's all kinds of. They've had so many spin-off games. There's so many they could revisit. You know.
I agree with the spin-offs, but I have a hard time thinking about like new Pokemon game that they could actually give us like style of Legends. You know, like there's just a new game that we've never heard of or thought of. Just because I think that 2028 would be some kind of game, a Legends game, a remake game, but then 2029 is the 3-year, like that should be Gen 11, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Unless they do another 4 years.
I don't think they will, unless this is super successful. I don't think they will.
I think they could. I mean, if the Pokemon game is bigger in scope, if Generation 11 or whatever the new if new Pokemon games on Switch 2 are going to be bigger, then they're going to need more development time. We're always complaining. I'm like, I'll wait 4 years as long as there's stuff in the meantime, and I think they have so many options. You know?
Yeah, I want to be clear. I'm not saying I think they shouldn't take a gap year, like take a 4 years. I'm just saying I don't think they will.
Yeah.
Who knows?
It really depends on the success of Gen 10 and of what they want to get out. You know, like because I think they prefer the 3 years so that they can make more money. Obviously, they don't want to have a gap year. And then also the success of the Switch 2. How long is the Switch 2 going to last? Because now we're getting into like. Gen 11 is almost certainly going to be on Switch 2 as well, but unless the Switch 2 does bad, and then they're going to be like, well, we're going to release our new console and something like that.
No way.
The Switch 2 ain't doing bad. They already like can't fulfill all their pre-orders.
So like then there's the opposite where the Switch 2 could last really long, and then we could have like 2 other Legends game on the Switch 2 after Gen 11.
I think if the Switch 2, I think if it's really successful, we won't see it lasts forever. I just think like the Switch will be their new bread and butter, and it'll be like PS5, like how we've got PS5,
Switch
PS4,
3.
then PS5. There'll be a Switch 3.
Yeah.
One day there'll be a Switch 4. One day there'll be a Switch 5. You know.
Yeah, and I think maybe this is a good place to almost end off, right? Because like I think the thing that we're always struggling with in giving excuses for, and it's like we just want these Pokemon games to feel as great as they did when we were younger on inferior software. And the Switch 2, everything we've seen is that, I mean, listen, when you're listening to this, you're playing the Switch 2. We're recording this in the past. We have not played the Switch 2. But from everything that we've seen, this system is more than powerful enough to create a Pokemon game on that is immersive, it's impressive, and it's beautiful, right? It's worth a replay. It's worth sinking 500 hours into or whatever, right? I'll say this a million times. For me, Pokemon games that is the portal. That is a way for me to be in the Pokemon world, right? As a 31-year-old man. That's my access point. So when the games lack, it's difficult for me to buy in to the experience, right? It's difficult for me to really get lost, to get immersed into the world of these games. And it forces me to play older games, which is fine. But I want to be proud. I really want to be proud of future Pokemon games. And I think the Switch 2 is giving me a little glimpse of this. So I'm really excited. I guess also, we barely mentioned it, but Generation 11, Lumi mentioned this before the show started. Generation 11, I think there is an opportunity for them to change up the series in ways that,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It could be meaningful. It could really, it doesn't necessarily need to be that, drastic, right? The formula can maybe be the same, but that we see a lot of changes. But Lumi presented the idea that future generations could potentially offer like a reboot for the franchise.
Right. I was going to say
soft reboot.
Yeah, because I don't think they'd reboot it like hard.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it'd be like Pokemon's been going on for 30 years and we're at Gen 11 now. You know what I mean? Like some things they might want to change. I don't know.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
No, absolutely. Like, and we might see something like with the Unova games are kind of infamous for, they introduced a big batch of Pokemon, the largest batch we've ever gotten, but they did not have old Pokemon that were catchable in their in the games until the post game, or by transferring them in. So I think there
I
could
think
be
it would be
something
a
like
harder
that.
reboot than Unova, though. I think it would be a little more than Unova.
Oh yeah, I think so too. Like, dude, if Legends EA and this potential Legends Johto game uses the same combat system as EA and it is super freaking successful and the market's there, maybe that's when they go, okay, we're retiring the turn-based combat system and this is just the way things are gonna be now. There's all kinds of different things that they could do.
No.
They could,
Yeah.
I know it. But I mean, there is the potential's there, and I would even propose that because I'm in the camp that I don't think a Legends Johto game will feature Kanto. They really expand on the region. They really like look at how vast Hisui is, and I feel like they're not gonna do that for 2 regions in one. So I think they give us Legends Johto. You can't go to Kanto in it. And then Gen 11, soft reboot of the franchise. And then, hey, what's the best way to like kind of start bringing in some familiarity to all these fans that are a little burned by the soft reboot, in the same way that Black 2 and White 2 was like, hey, look, there are old Pokemon in the region, and there's a world tournament with all these returning characters. They go, oh, okay, well, now we're returning to Kanto. Whether that's Gen 11 DLC, and I guess that would be 2020 or 2030, or if that would be in like a Legends game or a Faithful remake or something in 2031. But I think Kanto will see it in Gen 11, Johto, and Gen 10.
This is a bigger topic that we can actually do a whole episode on. I always say it, but like we can literally talk about how the whole reboot idea, because even right now, I feel like maybe they don't do a reboot of like with a new generation, and that the reboot has already begun with these Legends games. Like it's already started through them, and like maybe they just continue experimenting with more Legends games. Maybe they're not even called Legends anymore, but they just do like an experimental game and it just continues on. Maybe it ever takes over the other.
Yeah, they're able to experiment
series,
without actually damaging or altering their, their cash cow. They don't need to play with the thing that already sells.
So maybe a reboot doesn't even happen until it's like we need to reboot.
The only reboot, the only soft reboot I want to see is like the graphics, and the performance of the games.
Yeah.
Reboot that.
When you get a fish and you're putting your fish in an aquarium, one thing you have to do is you have to put your fish like in a bag, like with the water that you bought it from, and you have to put that bag in the aquarium and let the fish get acclimated to the water before you just dump the fish right in.
I'm the fish in this analogy.
We're the fish in this analogy, and the Pokemon company is the fish owner. Like they are having to like. I think that's what it is they know that they've got some fans who have been here since day one, and so they know if we want to do a drastic overhaul, we can't just Gen 11, boom, everything's different, deal with it. No, they've got to slowly hey, we're doing this thing called Legends game, but look, no, it's okay. You still have Sword and Shield. Yeah. You're gonna be okay. And then Legends Arceus or Legends EA, it's a little more different now. Sure. It's got this turn-based battling, but we have champions. Calm down,
Yeah.
But that's what made me think about it, is because we had talked with Toby about like the future of Pokemon as well, lore keeper Toby, and it's just like he was talking about Champions before Champions was released or revealed, and that is also a step in that direction. Like now that Champions is out, or not out but revealed, they can go away from the norm with the core series games, because we still have your turn-based over here. And listen, I want turn-based forever, but I'm just saying, like, they have the options now. They have the Legends, they have the Champions, and they have the main series. So it's like, they can do whatever they want. I more so lean towards that they won't like hard reboot anything unless it's like we need to do this to change everything.
A hard reboot's very dangerous because you've built your brand for 30 plus years at this point, if we're saying it was in Gen 11. And then the issue is that if you're doing a hard reboot, you were telling your audience everything that happened before this point, ignore it. And the issue with that is like, if you ignore everything at that point, you're basically starting over. And you don't need to start over. You're the highest grossing media franchise in the world. You need to stand on top of that massive castle you've built over the last 30 years.
Yeah. At the same time, just the last thing is just one of the big things is a lot of the younger people are coming up and the older people are going out. So it's like they might want to do something new with Game Freak because they're new people, you know?
Yeah.
Just final point on it.
Little
We could have a
Hero
discussion
2.
about it. Mm-hmm.
I think, so listen, we're definitely in the post show now. Tell me this, guys. Are you getting the Switch 2 on launch?
Yes, I've already pre-ordered it as we're speaking.
I'm in Italy right now, and I'm not buying it here, so I guess not on launch day, but
shoot,
when I get back, probably. I don't see why.
Yeah,
if I can find it. It's literally like when I can find it, I'm going to get it.
My plan is in 5 days. Gonna go to GameStop. Gonna do the GameStop sign up. Gonna pick it up, and I also feel like if I don't get it, I still feel like on the day that it releases, I think I'll still be able to find it somewhere.
Hope so, man.
So fingers crossed. Pray for me. You'll find out.
I'm curious how it'll be, man.
And if I do get one, if I am able to get one, like I said, I will be streaming on my channel, DustyGogoat. I will be live streaming Scarlet and Violet on Switch 2. We're going to be doing. I want to actually see if the game has changed at all.
Hopefully, it's not just underwhelming.
Yeah, Lumi, are you doing any content, Lumi?
Switch 2?
For Switch 2?
Probably. I think my plan right now is like I'm gonna play it on my own, like Scarlet and Violet on it, and then I there's a chance that I maybe make content on like, hey, there was this. Yeah. What does this mean? Like that kind of stuff.
We'll definitely. You know what? This is what we should do. Get the game or get the system, play it. We can meet back up. We'll do a live stream right here on Hidden Power Podcast, and we can actually discuss it. We can discuss the differences of the system to see if it actually.
You have to tell me about it, basically.
Sense. We'll tell you all about it. We'll tell you all about it.
Yeah.
Soul will be. They always do that in movies. They have a guy who, like, in a magical movie, there's a guy who, like, he's never been around magic, and he's kind of the audience's viewpoint. That's Soul in our Switch 2 episode.
Yeah. I like that. Well, listen, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're new to the channel, we talk about Pokemon all the time. We are the #1 Pokemon podcast. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple. Right here on YouTube is great. Feel free to subscribe. If you're new, stick around. We also do a weekly news show. Whatever goes on in the Pokemon space, we cover it week to week. And then also this podcast is also weekly every Thursday, where we discuss all sorts of Pokemon lore, theories, speculation about the future of Pokemon. Yeah, you're going to fit right in here if you like this conversation today. So thank you so much. And if you want to take the step further, links are in the description to sign up for our Patreon. $5 a month gets you access to also a plethora of additional content that you can only get on Patreon or as a YouTube channel member. Links are in the description for that. We appreciate you guys so much. And go enjoy your Switch 2. Go play it. Go play the heck out of it. We'll see you later. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Go.
I'm gonna enjoy Italian
Get out of
dinner.
here.
Bye.
Get out of here. The show is over. Get out of here. Get out of here.